Welcome to Haunted Hospitality, Southern Stories Told by Spooky Gingers. I'm Robin.
And I'm Zoey, and I have a story for you today. But first, Robin, how's life?
So I was looking at a car, a Ford Focus 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And it got sold, which I texted you about yesterday.
And it was sad because it was such a pretty car.
It was all black. They'd even painted over the Ford emblem, which I didn't like, but I didn't mind.
Okay.
But then they spray painted the rims like this orange bronze color.
I loved it. It was so, like, chef's kiss, like,
Mwah!
Yes, like the frosting on the cake, you know?
Yeah, and it was such a good price for that car with that many miles. It was only like 4 years old, which is like almost 20 years younger than some of the cars I drive. 15, really, but yeah. Anyway, so I'll just, find another car to idealize and then have that sold and then
continue the process.
Yeah, until eventually I have a car.
You know, that's what millennials do with Zillow, right?
Oh,
they, look at the really expensive houses and they daydream until it's sold and then they get personally offended.
Yeah, there's this one I really like in Columbia, but it might already be sold.
Probably. And to specify, I'm saying they when I talk about millennials because Robin and I are neither millennials nor Gen Z.
We're cuspers.
Yeah, we're zillennials.
I consider myself not Gen Z at all.
Okay, so I consider myself half Gen Z, half millennial.
Okay, well, I am a full 4 weeks older than you.
A full 4 weeks.
And that's enough to bridge a generation.
To the day,
yeah. It goes me, and then 2 weeks later exactly is a friend of ours, and then 2 weeks later exactly is Zoey.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesdays, baby.
Tuesday babies.
Ah, yeah. Also that.
Yes.
So Zoey, how are you? How's life?
I'm good. We talked about mostly how I'm feeling in the previous episode when I got my Yellow Bell Pass.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, and we talked about vaccinations, and I'm, by this time this episode comes out, it's going to be, my Myrtle Beach trip is going to be long gone, so I'm probably not going to be thinking about it too much, but I'm hoping that went well.
Are you trying to,
I'm backdating.
You're
yes.
backdating?
I'm backdating.
Okay, well, I'm also hoping that your future Myrtle Beach trip goes well.
My future Myrtle Beach trip went well.
Your future, yeah, I'm glad it went well.
But, yeah.
I didn't know we could just, project what we think we're going to be feeling in, 2 weeks.
Why not?
In 2 weeks.
You'll still be sad about your car.
No, I'll probably have realized, Robin, would it look really suspicious if you had a painted over Ford emblem like you were trying to hide what kind of car you had?
That's true.
Yeah.
Something that Kari likes to say, Ford stands for Found on the Roadside Dead.
Oh.
Apparently
okay.
He does not like Fords.
Well, it did have a 2.5 reliability rating out of 5 when typically cars have 3. But that seemed to be because of different recalls. That did not apply to this specific model.
Gotcha.
Because I checked with the VIN number.
I drive a Pontiac, so it's not like I can say anything about that.
I did think it would be really interesting if we both end up driving black sedans. Because that was what the car I was looking at was like. Yeah.
I aim to have a purple car one day.
Oh.
Because you don't see a purple car that often.
No, you don't.
I also really want some strawberries, but I don't have any strawberries.
These are unrelated?
No, completely no. But, yeah, I can't...
We have brownies, though.
We do have brownies. So, would you like to go over our Something Southern?
Yes!
So, this Something Southern, disclaimer, was completely Robin's idea. Unless it goes well, in which case it was my idea.
Do you think I don't think it could go bad. Oh,
no.
I mean, I guess... Okay, fine.
So, Robin's beautiful, marvelous, gorgeous idea was...
Chef's kiss. Mwah. Of ideas.
She decided that we should do hot takes. Since the slogan of the city where we live, Columbia, South Carolina, our slogan is literally famously hot. So...
I didn't draw that connection.
Oh.
You
did say because it's hot in the South, and...
It was going to get hotter.
Yeah, and the summer's coming.
Yeah, so I was like, so it's going to get hot, so we should do a hot take. I wasn't thinking about, famously hot Columbia. I love it because, Columbia's like, hey, come to us for New Year's. We're famously hot. And so, I mean, it's 20 degrees downtown, and it's like you're here for that New Year's festival called Famously Hot. It's cold.
Yeah.
It's January.
And I've done the famously hot 5K, And it is done in the middle of the summer, but they do it in the morning. And I think the one time that I did the famously hot 5K, it was like 70 degrees out. Like, it was nice and cool. So it was like, okay.
I mean, we like Columbia. We're pro-Columbia tourism.
Right.
I just think that every place has temperature fluctuations.
Yes, yes.
But yes, so we are doing hot takes.
Yes, hot takes. So, for those of you who do not know, like myself, who had to Google this.
You had to Google it?
Look, I'm not hip with the young crowd, okay?
I thought we had just established that you're Zillennial. All right.
A hot take is an opinion that's not necessarily agreed upon by others. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. So, would you like to share yours first?
Yes, and it's different from what I told you it would be.
Oh,
I thought about
tell me what it would be.
Oh, I thought I did.
No,
Anyway,
you
I thought
didn't.
about this one while you were in the bathroom. So
I wasn't there that long.
my mind works quick.
Okay.
So, you know when you're on a long road trip?
Yes.
Yeah, most people do.
Uh-huh.
And everybody is like, okay, well, I gotta pee. Let's stop at this restaurant. Oh, hey, we need to get food. Let's not go through the drive-thru. Let's get out and stretch our legs. I am anti-stretching your legs.
You know what? I have to agree with you.
Yay!
Yes, I hate it so much because it's like, no, unless it's food that the driver would not be able to eat while driving.
Yes, which for me is most food. I'm not good at multitasking.
I would say go through the drive-thru, get the food so you can get to where you're going quicker.
Yes, and then when you're there, you can walk around where you don't have to do it anymore. The thing is, I like road trips. I like driving.
Same.
But I'm like, let's not prolong the process. And the thing is, I know that when I stand up, my butt is going to hurt, my legs are going to be numb, nothing is going to work right. Okay, I'm aware of this. But I'm going to have to pee so bad. But I just want to do it that way. We would be really good road trip buddies.
Yes.
I mean, we would be ruined by the end of it because we can't do anything. But
yeah.
yeah.
I agree with that hot take.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nobody else gets it.
So if you disagree with her, tweet at us at Haunted Hosts.
Yeah, and then we can get into a Twitter war and a Twitter feud, and
Yes,
it's gonna be
I would
fun.
love that. Yes.
I mean, would we love a Twitter feud? I mean, yes, because drives traffic.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, can I take the emotional toll?
Well, I mean, if you take it with a lighthearted aspect and not as if they were coming after your soul.
No, I think they're coming after me specifically. If they come after this. Okay, Zoe, what's your hot take?
Okay, so I was brainstorming some hot takes with Kari earlier because he is much more hip than me, despite being several years older than me. And I was like, hey, is this a hot take? Is this a hot take? And he's like, yeah, that's a hot take. I was like, okay, cool. Do you remember the cartoon Kids Next Door?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they had all the evil old people, retirement old people, and they were eating tapioca pudding?
No.
Okay, so there's an episode where the really old people are eating tapioca pudding, and the whole thing is, like, the kids next door are so mad because, like, they took something as good as pudding and they made it old people, and it's disgusting and all of that. I love tapioca pudding.
Okay.
I think it's the best type of pudding.
I've never had it. I don't know what it tastes like.
Oh my god, it's so good. I love tapioca pudding. And everyone's like, ew, tapioca pudding? Oh. Like, nobody likes tapioca pudding. It's seen as, like, an old person's pudding. But it's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speak your truth. I love it.
But the funny thing is that what makes tapioca pudding is it has these little tapioca bubbles in it. So it's like boba tea.
Bubble tea.
Yeah, but it's itty bitty, tiny whiny.
You just said itty titty.
Itty titty bitty bitty. It's tiny tapioca bubbles. And when it comes to drinking boba tea, I love the boba tea itself, but I hate the pearls in the bottom. So the texture of it just makes me want to gag, but I love the tea itself.
I always feel like I'm going to choke on them.
Yeah. I like the aesthetic of a boba tea, but I don't like those pearls the slimy texture in my mouth. No, thank you. But I love tapioca pudding.
Cool.
So if you think I'm wrong, at me, and Robin will fight you because she runs our social media. Will that be less of a toll upon your soul?
To be honest, I would love to run a Twitter feud for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As long as you're on my side.
What if I just joined it and be like, yeah, I tried some, it sucks.
Yeah, so it's...
I added your cat viciously.
You did.
I did.
We tried to let him out, but it was just not working.
Listen, I like Toast so much. Like, Zoey came in the room today, and I was playing hide and seek with her cat. I love her cat.
He's just the beast when it comes to coffee and food.
He drank my coffee again, and this time I had to throw it out.
You did?
It was just too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So he's locked up in the room. I say locked up. He's sleeping in my bed. So.
Also, I was almost done with my coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before he was, like, doing the whole little... Because we can see the door. He was like, here's my paws. Let me out.
But speaking of the room, I have a super secret surprise for you.
Okay.
And I have to go to the room to get it.
Okay.
So I want you to close your eyes.
Oh my god. Okay, she had mentioned this, but I didn't know it was like a thing.
Yes, so keep your eyes closed, please.
Dear listener, Zoey has entered into another room. I heard the front door open. My eyes are closed. My hands are over my eyes. I'm realizing now that my voice sounds very weird. I don't know what to do about that. What do you think about foam or whipped cream? I'm really a big fan of whipped cream. It is so good. I had a Frappuccino the other day. Can I open my eyes?
Stand up.
Oh my god. Wait, I'm cross-legged. Oh god. Alright, what happened?
Keep your eyes closed, but hand me your hands.
Oh god.
Open your eyes.
It's a thing. It's a... Hey! Oh my goodness!
Look at the back.
Shit! What's this? Guys, it's a shirt! When did you do this?
Look, I have one too.
I love it! When did you do this?
Listen. It's been in my room for at least a week and a half now.
I love it. Thank you so much, Zoey.
So to explain to the listeners, it is a t-shirt. It has our little pineapple logo on the front.
Yeah.
And then on the back, it has Haunted Hospitality and the little logo. And then it also has a Spotify code where you can scan the Spotify code and it'll bring you to our first episode.
I love this so much. Thank you, Zoey. This
You're
is
welcome.
amazing.
So we can just wrap our podcast while
yes.
out and about.
I love it.
I haven't watched it yet. You might not want to put it on. Is that what you're about to do?
I mean, if we're talking about COVID, I mean, things don't last on COVID for more than 3.
Oh, I just meant because it probably stinks from the factory.
It does.
She's putting it on anyway.
I'm repping us. Thank you, Zoey.
You're
I'm so
welcome.
happy. I am now wearing the shirt.
Yes. So, I just wanted to share.
Yay!
So we can go out in public and rep our...
Yes.
Yes. And people can be like, what the heck? Why do you have a pineapple with eyes on your front? And then you can turn around and be like, it's my podcast.
I mean, like, if we're talking about, like, we could always... This is, like, a good shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're thinking about merch, people.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Guys, if there's anything you would buy from us, let us know. We'll, like, do it.
Yes. Yes. We aren't at the point right now where we can do merch, but we very soon will be.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I mean, too. Yay.
Okay. So, yeah. With that.
Yeah. Yay. Okay, Zoey.
Yes.
Do you have a story for us today?
Yes, I do.
Can you share it?
Sure. Now that we're happy and giggly and you're all excited, I have to do content warning, rape and gruesome murders.
Oh my god. Okay.
So, yes. So content warning, rape and gruesome murders.
Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes I forget what the content of the show actually is.
So this is a true crime. Have you heard of the Harp Brothers?
No.
Okay, so the Harp Brothers are 2 brothers.
No.
Actually, they might be cousins, but I'll get into that. So, they're 2 related males who are considered the first documented serial killers in America.
Did you find this in your book?
No.
Okay.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I did. Yes. The Harp Brothers have confessed to the killings of 39 people. However, the estimated total, including unknown victims, is more than 50.
39.
Confirmed.
Or possibly 50.
Yes.
It's just, I mean, that is so many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the Harp Brothers are Micajah and Wiley Harpe.
Okay.
Or Wiley. Probably Wiley.
How's
Wiley.
it spelled?
Wiley.
Wiley.
Wiley Harpe. Mikaya was born as Joshua Harper, or Wiley was born as Joshua. Different sources said different things.
Uh-huh.
But Mikaya...
I am getting well acquainted with that.
So he was born, they weren't entirely sure when, but it was definitely before the year of 1768. He sometimes went by Big, but I felt like it would be a little dehumanizing if I called them Big and Little Harp. Mm-hmm. I want to call them by their names.
Okay, cool.
Wiley was born William Harper before 1770, and he was known as Little. Also, fun fact, he was a redhead.
Fun.
So, depending where you're getting your information from, they were either born in Scotland, and they were cousins, and they came to North Carolina and settled here, or they were born in North Carolina and they were brothers.
Which do you think?
So, they called each other brothers. They traveled together everywhere. Like, I think they're brothers. But, honestly, that's just my opinion. So, who knows?
Okay. It is very far back.
Yeah, 1700s, yeah.
One day we'll do something, like, up to date.
Yeah.
But today's not that day.
Today's not that day. So, like I said, they're often considered the earliest documented serial killers in the United States. Mm-hmm. We know my history with American history, right? You know how I'm not very good at history. So there are some things that I may explain as if we've never heard them before, and you may be like, yeah, we learned about that. So I apologize in advance.
Okay.
So there's this war in 1765 called the Regulator War.
I don't remember that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So basically, it was like a mini Revolutionary War that only took place in the Carolinas, which would make you think we would learn about it.
Yeah.
Especially since we took South Carolina history.
Yeah.
So Mikaya and Wiley's father or fathers fought on the side of the British. So they were loyalists. And because of that, when they went to fight during the Revolutionary War, they were rejected by the Patriots. So that kind of like started Wiley and Mikaya's hatred for Patriots because their fathers weren't allowed to fight on the Patriot side of the American War or the Revolutionary War.
So their fathers changed their minds?
Yeah, between the two wars, but they were rejected by the Patriots because they had previously fought for the Tories.
Okay.
So they became like fierce loyalists after that. So that began the feelings of persecution and desire for revenge by the brothers. So in 1775, the Harp Brothers moved to Virginia. They wanted to be overseers on a plantation. That's what they sought out to be. So that can kind of already tell you the type of people they are, is that they wanted to be overseers.
So controlling, abusive, racist, that whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Power hungry, violent. Yeah.
Probably a superiority complex.
Definitely. Though I've seen some sketches of these two brothers and they have nothing to feel superior about, just saying. While they were working as overseers at the plantation, Mikaya found two women, Susan and Betty Roberts, who might have been sisters. And they both traveled with him and gave birth to his children. And
both of them?
Both of them with Mikaya, willingly or unwillingly.
Yeah.
And they were later legally married. But
all three of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the sisters were both legally married to Mikaya.
Okay, so it was like legal bigamy.
Kind of. But they got married in different towns.
I think that's still...
But, like, the towns didn't speak to each other, obviously.
So illegal bigamy.
Sure.
Okay.
And then later, way later, Wiley did marry legally Sarah Rice, who was a daughter of a Baptist minister.
Baptist murderer.
Yeah, a Baptist minister. They got legally married as well. So these 3 women would travel with the Harp Brothers for most of their adventures, to put it lightly.
Okay.
So during the Revolutionary War, the Harp Brothers, they were informals. So basically, they fought on the side of the loyalists, but they weren't given pay, they weren't given a uniform. They just kind of like were groupies of the militias. And then after the army would leave, they would go into towns that were just destroyed by war, and they would kill people, burn down buildings, and rape women.
So they were like pillagers after the pillage.
Yeah. And they would like steal from the corpses and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, especially if the people were patriots or if it was their property, they would go extra savage with it. This is why there's that number between 39 and over 50, because the people that they killed aren't tracked until a later point, because it's unclear if they were killed during the battle or killed by these brothers after the battle went through. So yes, they were called a Tory rape gang. Yeah.
Okay, I'm wincing.
Yeah. So they kidnapped 4 teenage girls, which were the 2 sisters and the Susan Rice, and then another girl, but I'm sorry, no, it wasn't those 3. It was 4 random teenage girls. They captured 4 random teenage girls to do with what they will. And one was rescued by Captain James Wood, who was a patriot. He shot Wiley as he attempted to rape one of the girls, but Wiley survived the shot. He was able to rescue that one girl. Mm-hmm. So in revenge, Mikaya later kidnapped Captain Wood's daughter and forced her to marry him.
Okay.
Yeah, and he left one of the Roberts sisters behind. The names of the 3 women, there was definitely 3 women who traveled with him, and the names of the 3 women were muddled up through history, you know, so they're like, well, this one was Sarah Rice, but this one was Wood's daughter, but no, this one was the Roberts sister.
Oh, gotcha.
So it kind of gets a little bit confusing of which woman was with them at which time. They survived by foraging, robbing people, looting battlefields. They traveled a lot. They kidnapped and attacked more and more people. Eventually, they ended up changing their last names to Harp instead of Harper, because Harper was a well-known loyalist last name.
Okay.
So they decided to settle down in Micajah, Tennessee, and they changed their last names, and they were next to a patriot town. And they were actually with the Chickamauga Cherokee village.
Okay.
So they settled with them, but then they joined the Cherokees and raided local settlements for food and money, killing people, raping more women. So they had to leave in 1794 when they heard that the locals were going to attack them back.
Okay.
So they ended up running again. And this is still before their death toll starts counting. So they've definitely killed more people by this.
So, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I haven't even gotten into the thick of the murders yet. This is all the prequel.
Okay.
Yeah. So, let's see. They traveled, living in the woods, raiding towns as they passed them. And then they went into one town where there was a man named Moses Doss, and he had the audacity to be concerned for the women they had kidnapped and called their wives. And so the brothers killed him. That's the first named victim that we have. Okay. In this time, the sisters both became pregnant twice, and Mikaya killed the babies when they were born.
Oh.
Yes. So both sisters were pregnant twice. So he had 4 children, and he killed them all the second they were born. Yeah.
Okay. This guy sucks. I'm also assuming that even if they went with him willingly to begin with, they're probably not with him willingly now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That does play a kind of big part later, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then they ended up settling in Beavers Creek near Knoxville, Tennessee, around 1797. And this is where Sarah Rice and Wiley officially got married.
Okay. So
now to the murders. So when in Knoxville, Tennessee, they tried to settle down and go back to normal life, essentially. But they couldn't go back to normal life. And so they started stealing hogs and horses and cattle, things like that, just to kill.
Wait, okay. Were they, like, eating them, or is this just an outlet?
I believe it was an outlet where they ended up eating them because they didn't have any money or a job or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But the animals were killed pretty gruesomely.
So, can I make a brief aside?
Mm-hmm.
So, I read The Lovely Bones when I was way too young to read The Lovely Bones. I was 13.
I know, everybody in middle school was reading that. Everybody I have no idea why.
Was reading it. And I remember there was this one part where it was just kind of the narrator who was a ghost, ruminating about the man who killed her because she can see into his inner life. And she said one of the hardest things to contend with was that he would have spaces where he didn't kill anybody human, and that he would instead be killing, like, dogs and other animals. Right. And it was really hard for her because she could see that there was part of him that was trying not to kill people, and that this was him trying not to. And it's just hard to deal with that complexity. So that's why I asked if this was an outlet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And they say, like, the first sign of getting on the FBI's most wanted list is you're killing animals. Because
I mean, if you're
a lot of
animals,
serial killers.
Yeah.
A lot of serial killers start off by killing animals when they're young.
Yeah.
But yes, so they were being accused of stealing the animals. Then they were also accused of murdering a man named Johnson after an argument at a local tavern. Basically, this man was saying they owe money, or I saw you stealing something, but they had an argument publicly, and then this man showed up dead. Okay. So they're like, you killed him, right?
Johnson.
His name was Johnson, yeah. That's a weird first name.
Oh.
It was his first name.
Oh, I thought they were saying last name. And so
no.
I was like... Okay.
This is the brothers' MO for killing people.
Okay.
So their bodies are usually found near the river, like Johnson's was.
Near the river?
Near the river, because they've been thrown into the river and their body washes ashore.
Okay.
Their chests are ripped open, and rocks are stuffed inside the chest cavity.
So they would sink.
And then he had urine all over him. So they would rip the people open, shove rocks inside, and then pee all over them, and then throw them in a river.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, this became their MO, where they were doing this to every single person. So when they were accused by the town of murdering this man, they decided to run to Kentucky. On the way, they murdered a peddler named Peyton, and they took his supplies and his horse and killed him in the same way. So they
if you're on the run, why would you kill people using the same method you had before? Because then you're creating a trail behind yourself.
Exactly. I don't know, but that's just what they did.
Okay.
They continued traveling. They murdered 2 travelers from Maryland and a man named John Langford. John had seen the 2 men and 3 women. All 3 of the women were very pregnant, and he bought them breakfast because they looked dirty and bedraggled, and the 3 women were pregnant. Mm-hmm. He bought them breakfast, and so the Harps, wow, autocorrect put this to the Harpies, befriended him. The Harp Brothers befriended him because they thought he had more money since he was able to buy 5 people breakfast.
Yeah.
So they offered to guide him on the road and protect him from highwaymen. Yep. And so he agreed, and his body was found with its chest ripped open and rocks inside it by the river.
Yeah, I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah. So the innkeeper had seen John with the Harp Brothers before he had died, and had known that John went off with the Harp Brothers.
Okay.
So the innkeeper was like, hey, police, it was these brothers.
Hey, police.
Hey, police. It was these brothers. They were arrested on Christmas Day in 1798. The 3 women gave birth in jail, and the men managed to escape.
Did the women participate in the murders at all? Did we know?
That's about to come up in a couple seconds.
Oh, sorry.
Gosh, Robin. Ah. So the 3 women gave birth in jail, and the men managed to escape. So a posse was sent after them. I don't know why everybody says posse. Like, basically, like a mob was sent after these men, right?
I feel like that makes more sense than posse. I feel like if I'm walking down this high school halls, I have my posse, but I don't have my mob.
No. But I'm going to call it posse because I like it.
Okay.
They found the body of the innkeeper's son killed in retaliation because the innkeeper ratted on them and led them to jail, so they killed his son.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for, like, making you accountable.
Yeah. After that, James Garrod, the governor of Kentucky, he put a $300 reward on each of the brothers. So that meant it was about $6,460 today.
On each of the brothers.
On each of the brothers' heads.
Okay.
So big deal. So the women were tried for their involvement because they were left behind in jail.
I feel like they got a really bad deal out of this.
Yeah. So they were tried for their involvement, but they were acquitted because they all had infants and the town took pity on them. Mm-hmm. So the women were given a horse so that they could go home.
Where's their home, though?
Various places.
Okay.
However, they sold the horse to buy a canoe and floated down the river to meet the brothers. So...
Okay. I take back what I said.
So...
I take...
That's a topic for debate because it's on, like, are they involved with the murders? Or do they have Stockholm Syndrome? Mm. Or it's the 1700s and they're 3 women without husbands with infants.
Yeah.
Do they feel like they have no other choice?
And also, aren't there, like, homes burned down and all that kind of stuff?
Not all of them, no.
Okay.
But...
I mean, either way, it sounds like they don't have great options.
No. And so it's just a question of, did they feel like they had no other choice? Or was that a choice they made, you know?
Yeah. But did they go with their infants?
Yes.
I don't see a reason to think that he wouldn't kill the infants.
I don't think he did end up doing it because by the end of the story, they do have some older kids. Okay. So he doesn't kill every single child. It was just those first 4 that he ended up killing.
Oh, just the first 4?
Just the first 4.
Okay.
And 1 later. I'll get to it.
Okay.
So as the group continued north, the brothers killed 2 men, Edmonton and Stump. Yes, this man's name was Stump. Then they killed 3 more men in Illinois by sneaking up on their camp. And so this is when they started varying their MO. Some of them they would rip open, and put the rocks inside. But some of them they would just take a tomahawk, which is like a axe. Yeah. And just axe their heads open.
Okay.
Yeah. And just like leave their bodies and steal whatever it is that they had on them.
Okay.
So they killed 3 more men. Oh, so the posse stopped chasing them once they left Kentucky. Right on the border of Kentucky and Illinois, which I'm assuming that's a border. I honestly don't know.
I'm really bad at U.S. geography.
Same. I'm bad at geography in general.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
They went to Cave in Rock. That's the town. Cave in Rock, Illinois.
Is it a cave in a rock?
Yes.
Okay.
And they joined the Samuel Mason gang. Do you know what the Mason gang is?
Well, now that you say the Mason gang, it sounds familiar, but I have no idea.
So basically, it was a group of pirates. Like
in Illinois?
River pirates.
Okay.
And highwaymen, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and at this point, they had 3 living children between Micajah and Wiley.
Could it possibly be those 3 infants that were born in the
Potentially,
jail?
yeah.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a very long time in between. So Mason's gang is a gang of river pirates and highwaymen. It was a pretty brutal gang of the time. Just to give you an idea, Samuel Mason was arrested in 1803. When he was arrested, he was like, oh no, I was just a captive of this gang. I have no idea I'm an innocent man.
I mean, it's called the Mason gang.
Well, he was saying his name wasn't Samuel Mason at first.
Oh, okay.
But then they searched his bag, and he had $7,000, aka $150,000 in today's money.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, and he had 20 human scalps in his bag. And he was known for writing, "Done by Mason of the Woods," at crime scenes with the blood of his murdered victims. So that's how brutal this Mason gang is, right?
I'm sorry, I'm struck speechless. That's very brutal. Why would you bring the evidence with you? I'm sorry,
They were stopped, like, he wasn't, like, meeting with the police. He was just captured. So
why would you be like, okay, and just in case I get captured, I'm just gonna...
I don't know why he was carrying scalps. It was probably trophies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's how brutal they were. The Mason gang allowed the brothers to stay with them for a while, but they quickly grew disgusted with the brothers' brutality.
They have scalps in their bags.
Yes. And they were disgusted by the brothers' brutality.
Oh wait, were the brothers doing something we didn't even know?
So the brothers began taking travelers, and while the Mason gang would mostly just kind of rob them and let them go, but with their enemies they would kind of kill and brutalize.
Uh-huh.
These brothers would take innocent travelers to the top of the cliffs, strip them naked, and then push them down to the river below. And they took glee in this and bragged how many people they would push down into the river.
This is really tracking with the whole, like, we kill animals when we can't kill people because we have this much of an urge to do that.
Yeah.
Thing. Okay.
So Samuel Mason forced the brothers to leave. And so the brothers went to eastern Tennessee between the months of July 1798 and August 1799. So a year and a month.
It's 13 months.
Yes.
Did the math.
They killed a farmer named Bradbury.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and unless I mention otherwise, they all had the same MO of chest open, rocks inside, or tomahawked in the head.
Okay.
So a farmer named Bradbury, a traveler named Hardin, a boy named Coffey. It could be Kofi, but it's Coffey.
Sounds like coffee to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
William Ballard, he was disemboweled and thrown into the Holton River. James Brassel, his throat was slashed and he was left to die on Brassel's Knob. I think that's a hill. John Tully, John Graves, and his teenage son, both of their heads were axed. A little enslaved girl.
Huh.
An entire family asleep at their camp. The numbers of that family weren't published.
I'm going to assume at least 3. I'm keeping a
Tally.
Yeah, we're at 12.
Mikaya's own infant daughter. Her head was smashed into a tree by her father because her crying annoyed him. This is the only crime he's ever shown remorse for.
What was the remorse he showed?
He was like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Oh my god.
Yes.
So these guys just, they were the worst. I mean, like, literally.
And then a man named Trowbridge disemboweled and left in Highland Creek.
Wow.
So a little bit goes by without them killing anybody.
So that's 14 people in 13 months.
Yeah.
At least.
And in the 14th month, August 1799, they stopped at the house of a man named Moses Stegall because he owed them money. Stegall wasn't there, but he knew the Harp Brothers were coming, so he left the money with his wife.
Why would you leave? Just take your wife with you. Leave the money. Take your wife with you.
Yeah. So Mary was at the house, and her name was Mary Stegall, obviously. So she opened her purse to give them the money that Moses owed them, and the brothers saw that she had money left in the purse. So they asked if they could stay the night. Mary agreed because this was a rural town. It's not uncommon for them to host guests. They actually had multiple bedrooms put aside to host guests. Another man, Major William Love, he was already staying there. It wasn't unnatural for them to request this. In the middle of the night, Mikaya was annoyed by William Love's snoring. So he crept into his room and split his skull with a tomahawk.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next morning, the brothers wanted breakfast, but Mary was too busy taking care of her infant child who was crying. He was sick, and so he was being kind of fussy, and so Mary couldn't cook breakfast because he was crying. She was taking care of him. Mikaya offered to quiet Mary's son, and she agreed because he had multiple kids of his own, so she didn't really think him suspicious. And so he takes her son, he leaves the room, the crying stops, and he comes back. Grateful, Mary made them a very large breakfast. And then as they sat down to eat, Mary went to check on her son. She found him in his crib in a pool of his own blood with his throat slit. She started screaming hysterically, understandably.
Yeah.
And so the brothers stabbed her to death. They finished their breakfast, stole the rest of her money, kicked over the stove, and burned the house to the ground. Yeah. So they left. Moses Stegall came home to find his house burned down and his wife and child dead. He knew it was the brothers because they were swinging by that day. So Mr. Stegall organized a new posse led by John Leeper to chase down the brothers. They found 2 more bodies on the way, and then they came to a camp where the brothers left the women and children. The women pointed the posse to where the brothers went.
Really?
Yes. So they were like, yep, they went that way.
And these are the women that we know?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if the infant, killing the infant, was the turning point for them.
They had watched Mikaya kill their children over and over again.
Well, yeah, but okay, I was just wondering because we know that he killed the first 4, but then they went back to him. And I'm wondering if killing that infant daughter of theirs was...
Maybe. But you have to think of it like there are 3 women in the woods and a bunch of men with guns, angry, came up
and
true.
Said,
where are your husbands?
It doesn't necessarily mean that, like... I got you.
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily completely voluntary.
Yeah.
So the posse followed where the woman told them to go to and found the brothers attempting to kill another man named George Smith. George survived. So this was August 24th, 1799. The brothers tried to flee, but Mikaya was shot in the leg by John. He tried to, use his tomahawk to fight back, but he ended up being, paralyzed from the waist down when he fell from his horse. He kind of realized that it was over for him. So Mikaya confessed to killing 20 people, but you can already kind of tell it's way more than that.
Yeah.
Mr. Stegall, the husband of Mary, he slowly cut off Mikaya's head while he was still conscious. Yeah. And then he spiked the head and put it at a crossroads next to his burned down house. And that road is still known as Harp's Head or Harp's Head Road.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Wiley escaped and he rejoined the Mason gang, but it was very short-lived. He was only there 4 years later when he was captured with the rest of the gang. He called himself John Sutton and said he was not Wiley Harpe. So he was captured with the rest of the gang, but he managed to escape with Mason and a few other crewmates. Mason was shot in the escape, and it's unknown if Mason died from the gunshot or if Wiley killed him.
Why would Wiley kill him?
Because he also had a bounty on his head. So Wiley wanted to turn in his head for that bounty.
Okay.
Wiley cut his head off and then went into the sheriff's department and was like, here's Mason, give me the money, please. And the sheriff department was like, you're Wiley Harpe. And he's like, no, it's not me. No. But in that bar fight, all the way back at the beginning with Johnson, Wiley was stabbed. And so he had a scar underneath his nipple, which is a beautiful place to have a scar. And, I mean, hey. So he had a scar under his nipple. And so when he went to turn in the head of Mason, they, looked at his chest and was like, no, you're Wiley Harpe.
Did he have a shirt on?
I mean, they opened his shirt.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And they're like, no, you have the scar under your nipple, so you're Wiley Harpe. And so he, along with a couple other people, they were arrested. He actually managed to escape, but he was quickly recaptured. And then he was tried and sentenced to hang.
Okay.
He was hanged in January 1804. He was probably in jail for a year, almost a year.
Okay.
So he was hanged in 1804. Then his head was cut off and placed on a stake like his brother. And
they were really big about that then. Oh my goodness.
Well, it was a warning to other outlaws. Oh, this is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Harpes were confirmed to kill 39 people, but the estimated combined total, including unknown victims, may number to more than 50. Yeah. So...
That is such an intense story.
Yeah. And it was the first documented serial killer, it started off with a bang.
Yeah. I mean, 39, probably more than 50. Probably more than 50. And then who knows exactly, how many from just, the gang activity, you know?
And, there were so many times where when they were following the battlefields, nobody was tracking how many people they were killing then.
Oh, yeah.
When they were with the Mason gang, nobody was tracking who they were killing then. They were killing men by opening their chests and putting rocks inside to weigh them down. Some men were found on the side of rivers. But if they were putting the rocks in to weigh them down, there's a good chance there were more that did succeed in being weighed down that they were never found.
I mean, I bet you that, like, one of the reasons Mikaya only came up with 20 is, like, I don't think he knows. It doesn't seem like they are saying, like, oh, I killed this person, oh, I killed that person,
right.
They're keeping track of it to themselves. It seems like this is just a compulsion that they have, and they don't have enough regard for human life to even... So wait, do we know what happened to the women?
Yes, actually. Here's a little postscript for you.
Okay, thank you, Zoey.
So the Harp women were able to go back to normal lives. When Mikaya was killed, they were captured and taken back to Russellville, Kentucky. Yes, that's KT, right? Kentucky? Yes. They were released. Okay, so they were taken back to Russellville, Kentucky.
Actually, I think Kentucky is KY?
Well, it's Kentucky.
Okay.
I abbreviated it, so it wasn't necessarily correct.
You're asking me to check your abbreviation?
Yes.
Okay.
So, they were taken to the Russellville, Kentucky courthouse, but they were released. So Sally Rice Harp went back to Knoxville to live with her father. She remarried in 1820, so a good, 20 years after Mikaya was killed.
So this was, in her sunset years.
She was young when they... yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She was probably, 16.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All the women were probably 16 when they were captured, or around there.
Okay.
So she remarried in 1820, and she traveled with her husband and father to live in Illinois. Susan Wood and Betsy Roberts lived in Russellville for a while. However, these two were the wives of Mikaya. So Susan Wood, I'm sorry, that's where the confusion is. So half the record said Susan Wood was Susan Roberts, and they were siblings. Okay. But half the people were like, no, it's Susan Wood, and it was the child of Jonathan Wood. So, or whatever his name was, Wood, Captain Wood. So, It was a little bit back and forth. Susan Wood ended up remarrying later, but died in Tennessee, and her daughter moved to Texas. Betsy Roberts remarried and lived as a tenant on a plantation. Then she moved to Illinois in 1828 and had many children before passing in the 1860s. Okay. With her new husband. So, I want to throw this in there, like you mentioned the book in your episode previously. I did try to watch this, but it was behind a paywall, so I did not end up watching it. It was $2.99, but I didn't feel like paying that price. So
paying that price.
Paying that price.
Okay.
So there is an investigation discovery episode on the brothers. It's in the TV series Evil Kin, and it is in season 3, and it's called Something Wicked in the Woods.
That's a good title.
Yeah. So if you want to watch it, go ahead and see if you can watch it. But I have a feeling I've seen some investigation discovery shows, and a lot of them are sensationalized.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch. I watched one about women who killed their significant others, much to Kari's concern. It was really interesting, but it was one of those shows where they hire actors to show react what happens,
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of
that. Yeah, it's entertaining to me, but at the same time I do kind of feel like it makes light of a serious situation, which I understand that it's kind of hard to tell the story without making light of it. But so you know how when you did the true crime of the Wolf Fork family murders and you're like, there's not a single ghost in this?
Is there a single ghost in this one?
There's a tiny little ghost. So, there's a path in Mississippi called the Natchez Trace. So, it's this path. There's a stretch of it that's known as the Witches' Dance. The belief was that this path was used for witch ceremonies. and they would dance along the path. And wherever their feet would go onto the grass, it would be spots of grass where the grass would wilt to never grow again. Kind of like the devil's tramping ground. Yes.
Shout out episode 3.
And that was not pre-planned, by the way.
We're just synced.
Yes. I actually put devil's tramping ground, question mark. Because it's like, what if the devil's tramping ground was just a practicing site for witches? Ooh.
You know, I can see that.
Especially with the bonfire in the middle. I know the bonfire isn't the new addition, but still.
Doesn't mean it can't be used for that now.
Exactly. Anyway, the grass would wither and die, never to grow again. So Mikaya asked a Native American to guide him through the Natchez Trace, and the guide told him about the witches' dance. And Mikaya, being the villain he is, scoffed and leapt from spot to spot, daring the witches to come out and get him.
I guess they didn't.
Well, after he died and his head was placed on a spike, it's said that a witch took his skull and ground it into a fine powder to be a healing elixir for a friend of hers. And after that happened, people say they can hear his laugh coming from the nearby bushes in the trees where the witches would dance. So if you...
Interesting.
Yeah, if you're in that area, you can just hear this man's laugh.
Wait, and where was his head on the spike again?
I believe it was Kentucky.
But the witches came from Mississippi?
The path is in Mississippi. Yes.
Is there a lot of folklore in that area about witches being in woods and stuff?
In the Mississippi path, yes. I don't know about Kentucky.
We should do some stuff about that. We should look into that some.
But,
we should put that on the spreadsheet.
So I don't know if that's true or if it's even related, but that was a little postscript I saw on one website, so I thought I'd include it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we usually don't shout out our sources on the show. We save that for our website, but I did want to shout out one source. It was written by Delaney R. Bartlett. It's on medium.com, and of course I'll link it in the show notes. But every single source I could find on this, it was very much okay, and then he killed 5 people, and then this happened, and then he killed 12 people, and then this happened. And her story, she actually did a lot of research into the names of the people, the way they died, and all of that. In that section about Mary Stegall, before I read her story, her article, it was 3 bullet points long. It was included in that prior list.
Okay.
But then I found hers, and she actually told the story of what happened to a lot of the murders. And I feel that's really important to, give the victims their story, you know? So shout out to her. I highly doubt she will ever listen to this podcast.
But if you do...
we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. So I will definitely link to that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for this story. It was very brutal.
Thank you.
But but it's also, I guess, good to know.
Also, I can't believe that we've been recording for over an hour. I feel when I'm the one talking, it goes by so much faster. You know?
Do I just drag it out?
No. But my brain's telling the story. And then when you're talking, it's I'm listening to a story, you know?
Oh yeah, it's a very different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, if y'all can't tell, we switch off every episode.
What? Why are you telling them our secrets?
Oh, sorry, it's trade secrets. We also have blankets and comforters on the walls.
Yes.
Though that's on our social media now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, we're too poor to afford the official soundboard things. It's $1 per 1 foot by 1 foot panel.
Mm-hmm.
This little area...
We're in her dining nook.
Yes, my dining nook, because we don't actually use it for eating.
We ate here today.
Yes, but that's very rare.
Oh.
We usually eat at our computer desks.
Okay, cool.
But yeah. So that's my story.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you liked it, please subscribe and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, every place you can get your... Well, I don't know why I listed Pandora. I was just happy we got on there. If you listened to last episode, I found out during the episode.
Yes.
So we're also on Spotify everywhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to share your own Southern Spooky story, or if there is a Southern Spooky story you'd like us to share, please send your recommendations to hauntedhospitalitypodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear what you have to say, and maybe we can even broadcast your story on the air. Woo! Also, like I mentioned, you can see our show notes and all of our sources at hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com.
Just to add to the quick call for story ideas, we've received a few, and so
Yes.
I know that for next episode I'm going to tackle one of them.
Okay.
So we are going to get started on those. If you are on the Twitter sphere, please join us at Haunted Hosts, and we're also on Instagram at Haunted Hospitality, and we're also on Facebook, and we share a lot of extra content on these social feeds. If you want to see photos of my cat Remy, who does not make an appearance because we do not record at my house, or if you want to see Toes, who was a maniac during this episode, I mean, really, we had to stop every sentence because Toes was doing his Toes things.
Yes.
You can find them and other out-of-context things from our episodes. You can find mini playlists for every episode on our social media.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
So, stay spooky.